My name is Connor Hins. I am the community coordinator for Syndicate Saber United. Essentially what we are, we're a combat and choreography lightsaber group. Charity events, baseball games, hockey games, events like that require a kind of Star Wars presence. We're going to be there, being those, not necessarily face characters, but the Sith and Jedi performing and doing choreographed fights at, events like that. That's kind of what we're all about. We have a kids show that we do at Comic-Cons and events like that as well. So, like to get out there and kind of show ourselves in the community, if you will.
My name is Eric Davies. I've been part of Syndicate for about 6 years, and I don't do much nowadays, just mainly combat and a little bit of choreographed fights. I used to be the community coordinator.
I'm Steven Turco. I'm one of the people that show up for Syndicate every so often on the weekends, as my schedule permits me to. And one of the things I do is choreo and combat. I think it's a lot of fun.
My name is Alex White. I am a retiree from the U.S. Army, and I'm the member of the Saber Syndicate United. I am the combat coordinator. I am responsible for keeping the codex of games, the rules, as well as updating our combat requirements and target zones and so forth as far as it develops through actual practices.
Hi, my name is Snow Reese. I am the LFL coordinator for Syndicate Saber United.
My name is Stephanie Hall-Hins, and I am the stage coordinator with Syndicate Saber United.
I got involved in 2014 when the group had just started. It was a little bit different. It was primarily a combat-focused group, so we hadn't really had many forays into choreography, but the one bit of choreography that we did do were short choreographed fights at ASU. So actually the Barrett Honors College in the front kind of mall area, if you will. We did a sudden fight and got a lot of people watching and things of that nature. That was my first foray into the group. That's when I met Stephanie as well, my wife.
I found Syndicate from my friend Sean, who invited me back when I was in high school in 2017. There were plenty of us who were studying at Soro High School, so it just kind of went around word of mouth. Group just kept on growing through that high school.
So I've been on and off again with Syndicate for a couple of years. I was originally part of a different group called Southern Flame 4 or 5 years ago now. I met Taylor and everybody else through a joint performance over at FanFusion.
I got involved in Syndicate Saber last December of 2022. They were performing down in Glendale at the LibCon event in December. I missed it due to rain, but I saw them there on the website and looked them up, pestered them until I found out where they were practicing at, and I met them out here, and I've been with them ever since. So it's been just under a year, and it's been a hell of a ride since I've been with them.
I actually got into Syndicate Saber United 2019. One of my coworkers was part of the group, and we were just geeking out over Star Wars, and she says, "So we have this lightsaber choreography group, you might want to come join." And it was all downhill from there.
My favorite part of the group is getting to meet new people. So when we do all of these events, we really have an opportunity to meet lots of interesting individuals who are into Star Wars and into lightsaber combat as well. We're fortunate enough to be in a time where almost everyone has had a lightsaber at some point in their lives. Most adults now have really wanted or have made the big step in purchasing, like a legitimate lightsaber, be it from Disney World or, one of the multiple online stores. It's a really great opportunity to actually get to use those cool toys that you now have.
I'd have to say the favorite part of the group is just how many friends I've made within it, just the people that I've met, the interactions I've had, the memories I've made through the past 6 years I've been here.
I think right now my favorite part is setting together a choreo set with Lux, who's one of the other guys around here. Overall, in terms of coming to the practices and whatnot, my favorite bit of it all is just the exercise and the hanging out with a bunch of different other nerds.
My favorite part of Syndicate Saber is the family and camaraderie that comes along with it. We have a bunch of geeks and nerds come together and just playing outdoors and doing everything that I wanted to do as a kid that was not available to me. It just makes me feel like I'm reliving my childhood and while still being an adult.
I think my favorite part of the lightsaber combat and choreo is dressing up and all the flourishy fun stuff we get to do. My favorite part of Syndicate Saber, aside from, well, the lightsabers and the martial arts, is we are all a giant family. We all hang out together, we all have fun. My best friends are all in the group.
My favorite part about all of this is performing at the cons, primarily performing the kid shows. We have kid interactive shows, kind of similar to what you would see like at a Disney park or at Ren Fair or something like that. The reason why I love it so much is because it gives me a chance to really continue to work on my acting chops, work on my major, which was theater in college, but it also gives me this feeling that I think very, very few people get, where you perform something, it goes so well, and then there's this like little kid that comes up to you and is just like awe-inspired by you, and they want to give you a hug. So Syndicate Saber United is a lightsaber combat and choreography group.
A group that meets on a semi-regular basis that basically gets out there and practices sword fighting with lightsabers.
We have a focus in the combat side of things because, as we see in Star Wars, lightsaber combat is definitely a big part of the story. It's a big part of the universe.
We also have choreographed stage fights,
where we get to make almost movie accurate type of fights in a way, kind of like what you see in the movies and the TV shows, and applying that in a way that with our own unique flares.
We work with the community. We do special community events as far as with Lucasfilm Limited groups, such as the Mandalorian Mercs, parades, and visiting sick kids in the hospital, doing charity work along those lines, as well as performances at the Phoenix Fan Fusion and other conventions that occur around the valley. Lightsaber combat is basically we take elements of fencing and other swordsmanship styles, and we fight each other either as one-on-one, or we develop games and we go against each other. It's a good way to get some exercise if you're looking to get that in, especially when we have a large group and we can get some really good games going along where it's just like kind of a high-paced flow of events going through.
So obviously, because I've got that color guard background, my moves are a little different. A lot of people might just, do the basics. Mine are going to be a little more fancy, a little more flourishy. So my experiences with color guard and theater have definitely been something that I love to kind of implement. Originally, I was not the only color guard person in the group. There were a couple of other members that had color guard experience. Over the years, there's been a couple that have kind of filtered in and out. Color guard teaches a lot of flexibility in the wrist, teaches you to kind of really practice your flourishes, practice your spinning in such a way where you can make it look, nice and crisp and clean. But it also provides a very unique look at how to use a lightsaber, when most people would think, I probably shouldn't touch the blade, and then I toss like a double and then catch it with, with my lightsaber and everything. It definitely adds a little fun flair to that as well. Adding the theater side of things has definitely come in handy with all of the shows that we do and all of the performances that we do. And being able to teach that to others in the group, support their want of the arts, and being able to apply it in such a way so that way our shows look good. So the history of Syndicate actually dates back to June of 2014. It was the Phoenix Comic-Con back when it was still called Comic-Con. One of the founding members and a buddy of his that also was a founding member had this idea of what if we create a lightsaber group. So the two of them plus one other came together and decided to make this group, and they started announcing it at the con. From there, the group just really took off. There was a lot of interest, there was a lot of want. We had people that had connections with Phoenix Comic-Con that we were able to do shows at Phoenix Fan Fest. We've done performances pretty much ever since then with Phoenix Comic-Con because they just, they love what we do and they will always want us to come back. Any group or any team or family environment that this group has, there's always drama, there's always turnover, there's always, things that come up where people aren't around anymore. And, there are still members that we miss that have moved on to bigger and better things. It's definitely had its ups and its downs, but we're still running strong. We're still doing what we love to do. And, with any of those groups, you also see a lot of change as well. Like we've had times where we were strictly just combat, and then we really got into shows and everything and kind of lost sight of our combat side. And then obviously COVID hit pretty hard, like anybody in the world, with us, but we still managed to maintain a nice strong set of numbers, and here we are.
Yeah, so I kind of just got involved in leadership by wanting to be a bigger presence in the group, drive some of the engagement and activities that we do. While the activities that we do that are official, so to speak, are kind of handled by other people, the community coordinator is really there to drive other pieces of engagement, so going out sometimes and doing non-saber related stuff, or, sometimes we've had camping trips in the past, or, going out, paintballing, or, something like that. Other stuff to get into other realms, or, kind of just hang out in a non-official or work-related environment, so to speak, because sometimes if you're building towards, an official choreographed routine or Comic-Con or something like that, you can kind of get into a slog, as you're getting into crunch time, so it's nice to break that up with other stuff.
Basically, I think I got involved with leadership at council just by participating. I was here a lot, and I don't want to say I was badgering them, but I was asking a lot of times about getting something going over on the west side, because I knew there were several people that were on the west side that weren't able to make it out for practice due to the distance that was required to go back and forth. I think that's one way I came into being a part of getting involved with leadership, as well as through the elections process. I was nominated for the combat coordinator position, I think based off of past experience within the military, and then just general understanding of kind of generic combat and kind of being able to instruct others on that.
My job as Lucasfilm coordinator is I am in direct communication with our representative, and they usually contact us saying, hey, we have this group who needs a Star Wars appearance. Can you guys come? Can you guys do that? Sure, absolutely. Or if we have an idea for something that we would like to do, then we contact them. Hey, we have this idea. What do we need to change? Is this good to go? And it's just my job to communicate directly with Lucasfilm.
So I got involved in leadership with Syndicate actually back in like 2015, 2014-ish, because at the time the group was still relatively new. There were only so many members that were, with the experience from day one, and so I kind of became a part of the council back then. I think we called ourselves Conclave back in the day. But we changed that years later, and I stepped down from council, took a little break, but I eventually came back just because, I love doing it. It's fun. So as stage coordinator, what I do is I primarily handle anything and everything involving our performances. So we perform at local conventions, including Phoenix Fan Fusion, Glendale LibCon, pretty much anything that involves us standing up in front of an audience and performing in a kind of theatrical standpoint. and I contact directly with the cons, making sure that we have everything we need, make sure we have all the tech work behind the scenes, stuff ready to go, get scripts written, and then make sure everybody's got fights and choreography in order.
Really, one of the funnest kind of memories are the individual evenings, so to speak. I know that probably sounds kind of cliche, but just the quiet moments in between, you know, the games and the choreography and things like that, where we actually get to meet and talk with the new people that have come out. It's a really great way to, you know, connect with other Star Wars individuals, you know, and it's kind of the connective tissue that you remember at the end of the night when you're driving home, or, you know, what have you, that brings you back again.
I'd probably say one of my favorite memories was performing at the halftime show for the Masquerade Ball at Phoenix Comic Con 2017. That was my first choreographed fight that I performed in front of a live audience, and that was also the time I got to see Connor and Stephanie, or Connor proposing to Stephanie. That was an interesting sight to see.
The favorite memory that I have from doing any of the performances was the first one I did at Fan Fusion. I was doing a set with my coworker at the time, Souza, and it was the first time I've done a performance. It was the first time I had really jumped into the ship of just doing something like this, and I thought I was going to be super nervous, didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, and it was just a lot of people encouraging everyone else, really having each other's backs, and when it finally did happen, it was a ton of fun. I was out of breath at the end of it, but, you know, it's one of my favorite memories I have because I was surrounded by a bunch of my friends.
One of my favorite memories from time with Syndicate has to have been doing my first performance at the Phoenix Fan Fusion. I was one of the only 3 bad guys, Sith Lords within the show, and both my fights I got a lot of oohs and ahs when I got the killing blow in, and it hurt my feeling a little bit, but when some parents came up to kids and asked if they wanted to take a picture, one of them looked at me and was like, nope, turned and walked away. So it kind of hurt a little bit, but at the same token, it made me feel good. It was like, yes, I am the bad guy.
Yeah, you know, so the biggest thing that's in the future for us, I would say, is the upcoming Comic-Con. That's, you know, really the time that we get to showcase a lot of what we've been working on for the past year. So it'll be a really exciting time to, you know, show off all of the lightsaber fights that we have, and it's a great time to, you know, get to see the snapshot of the group and what we've done for the past year.
So the main thing I'm looking forward to for the future of Syndicate is just helping expand the group. We've already expanded to the West Valley, and I know that there are plenty of people who would like to get into it, but they either just live too far away, or even just not even just in a different part of the city, but maybe in a different state. I'm hoping to see more groups like Syndicate pop up nationwide, because I feel like a lot of people are buying these sabers and not actually using them, and a group like this is a great chance for them to actually use it instead of letting it be a wall hanger.
I'm looking forward to doing more of the shows. Now that I have, you know, we've got the West Side group that's been formed and everything like that. It's a lot closer. It's easier to engage into it, and it's easier to get out to it. And we've got LibCon coming up on, I believe, December 2nd, over at the Glendale Public Library, and that's where that's where the set for me and Lux is going to be done at for the first time in front of people that are outside of the group, and so that's one big thing I'm really looking forward to.
One of the things I'm looking forward to with the upcoming practices and just longevity with Syndicate Saber is the addition to having a games night specific type of combat training, which is on our Wednesday nights practice at Kiwanis Park. Right now we're looking at other venues also, but also looking at the establishment of the West Side chapter, especially as it grows, and trying to get that to be a little bit more meeting more often during the week. I'm really looking forward to seeing that grow and just becoming a vital member of Syndicate, to where Syndicate ends up becoming a regional, state and regional, hopefully a national type of chapter where we have multiple venues all across the nation.
So a couple of cool events that we have coming up is we are doing Phoenix Fan Fusion. We do several shows during Phoenix Fan Fusion. We have our exhibition show, which is where we showcase our choreographed fights and our skills there. And we also have a new show called Trials of the Saber, where it is a full tournament where we bring in con-goers of all ages, and they all compete to help in the Trials of the Saber. We all have to defeat Dracul. Some cool things we've gotten to do in the past is we march in the Flagstaff 4th of July parade. We march in the Fiesta Bowl parade every year. We do Phoenix Fan Fusion. We've been doing that for, oh gosh, this is our 10-year anniversary coming up this year. Yeah. Wow. I'm trying to think of what else we've done. We do a lot of charity shows.
Yeah, so certainly one of my my favorite memories, if not my favorite memory, is proposing to now my wife Stephanie, who's also a member of the group. We had been dating for about 8 or 9 months prior. And we had decided to put on a choreographed routine for Comic-Con. And it's a lot of work, a routine like that. You're probably putting in 5 to 6 months worth of work, just for a 3.5 or 4 minute routine. So as we got closer and closer to Comic-Con and to putting on this routine in front of the 1,500 or 2,000 people at Masquerade, which are one of the evening events, I had the thought of trying to see if I could work in a proposal to her. So, I did all the necessary steps, got the ring, whatnot, and so the evening finally came, and there were a whole bunch of stuff that threatened to make this not a reality. I think the biggest one was just the possible cancellation of Masquerade in general, and I had no clue what I was going to do to try to propose to her otherwise, because this was like the only idea that I had that was, big and grand in a way, and that felt fitting for both of us, being in a Star Wars group where we had first met. Fortunately, it wasn't canceled, but halfway into the set of routines that we had, the organizers for the event, we were essentially the halftime show, if you will. They told us that they were going to have to cut several of the fights short. And ours was like 3 or 4 down the line and was likely going to get cut. And the buddy of mine at the time that I had given the ring to came in clutch, if you will, because he talked to the organizers and was like, you guys you really need to have this last fight. It needs to happen. And oddly enough, Tyler was one of the ones who, he's another member of the group, a good friend as well, and in leadership, who put in that good word as well for, like, you know, making sure that our fight was still on the docket. So we were able to do it, of course. The end of the fight actually calls for me to kiss and kill Stephanie, if you will. And she didn't know that this change was coming, but I kissed her, of course, but then got down on one knee and actually properly proposed. And of course, the crowd lost their minds. The organizers of the event were certainly glad that that we continued with our fight, and it was definitely an evening to remember for everyone, for sure.
It was mainly just everyone performing their choreographed fights for the halftime show, but it was that one finale where that one fight with Connor and Stephanie, and then I heard rumors of, oh, someone needs to bring a ring up quickly, or else the moment would have been ruined. Just seeing all the hectic preparation for that in the background, it was definitely interesting.
So there's one memory I have with this group that is probably my personal favorite, and it's a bit of a story, so I'll try to make it as quick as possible. But back in 2017, we were preparing for Phoenix Comic-Con like we've done in the past, and that week of con, I had a horrible bout of food poisoning, and I had gotten sick, and it was awful. It was an awful time, at least physically for me. But the very, very first day of that con, there was a guy that showed up with real weapons at the convention, and it caused them to do this huge prop ban where not even lightsabers were allowed into the con, not even stuffed animals were allowed, and it was a pretty big deal, and it still has resulted in certain ruling that the con has now. But that weekend, my husband Connor, at the time we were just dating, so he had this whole plan, this whole idea for something, and I was completely oblivious to it because I was still, one, battling a head cold, and two, battling how do we do our shows? How do we do any of this stuff, because we can't even bring our lightsabers into the con. And bless the guy, our contact at the convention, who was able to hook us up and get a way for our stuff to get in there so that way we could actually do our performances, because he pretty much saved the day on that end. And during the masquerade, which is this huge costume contest that happens the Saturday night of con, we were asked to perform kind of like the halftime show, where as the judges are figuring out like who won the costume contest, we're entertaining people with lightsabers. And while we were doing that, apparently the coordinator came over to one of our members of the group and was like, hey, we got to cut this off, you know, we got to give the spiel. And they're like, no, we have to do the last fight, we have to do the one last fight. And so they came up to me and Connor and they're like, hey, your guys' fight is on. And we're like, okay. So we go on stage, we perform the fight. I'm dying because I can't breathe. And at the very end of the fight was supposed to end where, because I was a Sith, he was like my Sith apprentice, and at the end I was, you know, supposed to die because he overthrows me. Well, during the part where he pulls me in to kill me, and, you know, kind of like this kiss-kill kind of thing that we came up with, there was the sound of bounding feet behind me, something pressed into the small of my back, and the next thing I know, he's pulling away, getting on one knee, and he proposed to me in front of all of these people. And it was a surreal experience, and it was a lot of fun, and it just made the weekend so much better, despite the fact I still couldn't breathe out of my nose. And it was the talk of the con, like everyone was talking about it, and it's a lot of fun, and I still run into people to this day that saw that performance, and it is on YouTube, so if people want to see it.